Strength Warehouse presents Go Heavy or Go Home podcast. I am your host, Nate Boley. In this podcast, we talk about strength, fitness, nutrition, and all things Strength Warehouse related. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. It's always a pleasure having you guys here. Today, I'm pretty excited about this one actually, but I get these questions about powerlifting all the time, and I'm not the end-all be-all knowledge person on powerlifting, but I definitely have been around the game for a long time. I'm a national referee, going to go international this year for the United States Powerlifting Association. I've been lifting since 2009. 2011 was one of my first competitions I had. I've just been around the block. I've done a lot of research about it. And like I said, I don't know everything, but I definitely know like the general outline of how all it works. But today's episode is going to be breaking down powerlifting competitions. So I can just get right into it. But like I said, I get a lot of questions upon this, especially with the new lifters. And so I just wanted to put it all in one spot and so you guys could have a place to kind of just listen to it and have it all in your head. So powerlifting has been around for a long time. I don't know the exact date or year it was actually created for competition standards. It's been around for quite a while. There are multiple different federations, but so today I'm not going to go into all the different federations. I'll put some different ones out there, but there's tons of them, and there's been a lot. There's a lot now, and there's going to be new ones coming out. It seems like a new federation comes out every 3-5 years or something like that. So yeah, anyway, nobody owns the coined term powerlifting. So it's kind of like CrossFit is owned by CrossFit Media and Greg Glassman, and they hold the only CrossFit games. Nobody else is holding CrossFit games except for them, and they have all the different competitions that lead up to the CrossFit games. Powerlifting is slightly different. So you have a couple different federations that have what we call world level powerlifting meets. So I think there's more than these ones, but these are the two biggest ones. So you have IPF, International Powerlifting Federation, and you have IPL, International Powerlifting League. These are the umbrella programs for all the other federations to be underneath them. I don't know much about the IPF. I have not competed in IPF before, or any federation that's underneath the IPF. I have not competed in any IPL meets as well, but I've competed in many meets that are underneath IPL. I've refereed at IPL meets before, but anyway, so IPL is basically the standard, or sorry, not IPL, but these world level meets, or federations I should say, these world level federations are the standards for all the other federations to go along underneath them. And so anyway, they can go one way or the other. Most of the time they stick with their own federations. Like for an example, USAPL used to be the United States leg of IPF. The USPA is underneath IPL. Now you go around the world and there's going to be powerlifting federations in, like Great Britain, the UK, Africa, China, United States, Canada, all these different places have their own powerlifting federations that are underneath one or two of these, or I think there's a third one as well, but I'm not sure which one that is. So basically, USPA is the one that we're affiliated with, and they are the United States leg of IPL. So if you want to compete in IPL Worlds, you have to compete in one of the federations, most likely going to be the United States Powerlifting Association, to go to those levels of world meets. Right, so you have different levels of meets. So you have what we call like a local meet, which is going to be like something that we run at one of our gyms. This is going to be, standard state level meet. You're probably going to see quite a few state level referees there. You're going to see a couple, national referees probably, and you might or might not see an international referee. Just depends on what state you are in, what meet you're at, and all that different type of stuff. And then you have regional type meets, and that's going to be kind of like some meet director's going to put it on, and it's going to be a qualifier for like a bigger meet, like nationals or something like that, or worlds, right? Once you get to regionals, you can have state championships. and stuff like that. Or actually, it might go the other way around. So it's like a local meet, state championship, a regional meet, and then some type of national meet. And then you're going to have world meet after that. There's different ones, of course. They have like the North Americans and stuff like that. They're all IPL meets as well, which are world level meets. They're just not what we quote unquote consider worlds. Worlds is like the last thing of the year. All the meets have kind of led up to this one. You got like North Americans, you got drug tested nationals, you have non-tested nationals, you have a couple other different high-level meets. It just depends on how you want to go about it. You don't have to start out from state-level meet, go to state or championships, then go to regionals, then go to nationals, then go to worlds. You don't have to do that. It's not like a set hierarchy or staircase or pathway to get there. Most of the time, you have to just qualify. You have to go to a meet that says in the registration it qualifies for XYZ meet. If you qualify for that meet, you can go to any meet that you want to after that it qualifies for. You have to get a qualifying total to get into some kind of national level or world level meet. Now, that is completely not random, but it's completely like individualized for each weight class category that you're in and age category as well. So just for example, for me to go to worlds at my age and weight category, I had to make 1270 or something like that total. And so I did that, and so now I'm eligible to go to nationals or world level meet. And I was in a meet that qualified me for those specific ones. So in just starting out at the bottom again on the state level meets, for record purposes, you are able to beat state level records and national level records given there's enough national referees for you to do that. So you have to have at least 2 national referees on platform in order to break a national record. If you go to same thing with state championships and regionals, you're only able to break state and national given that there's enough national referees there. In Oregon, there's a huge plethora of national referees here, so most likely you're going to be able to break national records at any meet in Oregon that you go to for the USPA. And I'm going to kind of go down that route because I don't necessarily have affiliation with all the other ones. So I've been with the USPA for a long time now, and that's the federation that I really enjoy, and the one that I've kind of gone head deep in being a referee, a meet director, and a lifter as well. So we're kind of going with that right now. In order to break world records, you have to go to an IPL meet. So you have to go to some kind of like North Americans, you have to go to nationals or worlds or some other one that's classified as IPL. Now, again, you have to have 2 world or international referees on the platform in order to break the record. If you don't have that on there, you will not be granted the record. That's the rules. That's the way it goes. So as a lifter, you definitely you need to know, hey, I'm breaking a record. What referees should I have on the platform? Are they there? And then on the computer board, as you can see it when you're walking up, it has to say whatever record you're trying to break. If you don't do that, you definitely risk not being able to get that record. So highly suggest that and all the rules are on the lifter. Like, you guys got to know what's going on. So take a little bit of time, go over that rule book, and make sure that you guys are doing your due diligence, because we can't know every single thing about it, right? As the referees, there's lots of moving parts. We don't know that your lift's going to be a record. That's on you to know. All right, I'm going to go into different types of gear. So in the USPA, we have multiply, we have single ply, we have classic raw, and then we have raw. So multiply is something that kind of came out in the late 80s, mid 80s to late 90s, and it kind of fizzled out a little bit, but everybody was lifting raw in the beginning of powerlifting because they didn't know, right? It was just, they just got under a barbell and lifted it, squatted it, benched it, or deadlifted it. And people started manipulating the system. Like, hey, if I wrap this, ace bandage around my knees, I get a little support. And then they're like, hey, if I use this ace bandage and wrap a tennis ball behind my kneecap or behind the back of my knee, I get a little bounce out of the hole. And all these were, of course, they didn't know they were going to be happening until they started happening, and then there start rules coming out. Okay, you can't have a tennis ball, blah blah blah. They started noticing that, hey, if I have my knees wrapped, those lifters are stronger. If I use wrist straps, my lifts are a little bit stronger because they're more stable, whatever. So they started making different categories for these things, and over the years, companies started coming out with, actually it started out with the lifters. Like for one of them, for a bench shirt, one of the very first bench shirts out there was a denim jacket, right? So they'd take a jacket that was denim, they'd put it on backwards, so their arms were in the sleeves, but the back of the shirt was on the front, and then they'd bench with it, and they'd get a lot of extra weight. And I don't remember what the squat suit was. I want to say it was denim jeans or something like that, or some kind of denim shorts that they were using to get some kind of stretch and some kind of rebound effect out of the holes in the squat. And then companies started coming out with new stuff, like all the different materials. And so they first came out with like a single ply bench shirt and a single ply squat suit and deadlift suit, which is just basically a singlet. Squat suits are like a singlet with just a little bit more support, a little bit more give, and a little bit more rebound out of them. So you can end up getting a little bit more weight out of it, and you feel a little bit more protected. And same thing with the bench shirts. They just started out with a single ply, so it's one layer, and you'd put it on and you bench with it, and you get a little bit extra out of it. It was a lot of fun. People started doing it. Less people were injured, and that's a lot of the reasons why multi-ply and single ply are still a thing today. There are a lot of older lifters that have been doing it for a long time that have gotten sustained injuries over the time, over their life, and they still want to be in the game. And then there's also crazy people that just want to lift insane amounts of weight with extra support and help. And then they started saying, hey, what if I wore 2 bench shirts or 2 squat suits? How's that going to affect it? And then they started sewing them together, and now we've broken into the multiply stuff. Multiply got so crazy where I remember one suit, I think it's called the Leviathan, but it was so stiff, it would literally stand up by itself. And so you got to put on massive amounts of weight to get down to depth with these types of things, way more than you could ever squat or deadlift or whatever, or bench for that matter, raw. I've seen guys, in a really, really heavy duty multiply shirt, benching 800-900 pounds. Even today's day, people are benching 1,400 pounds in multiply suits and stuff like that. So yeah, those are the different the different categories. Of course, there's age categories and weight categories, and so I won't go into those, but a lot of people don't really realize that there is different styles of lifting. Is it cheating to have a squat suit on or a bench shirt on? Absolutely not. It's a completely different sport. It's a completely different game. It's very difficult, and it does not make you any less weaker. It just is a different thing. It's comparing apples to oranges. So if you see somebody squatting in a squat suit or benching in a bench suit, don't ever think it's cheating, because it's absolutely not. And if you ever get into one, you'll know right away. And especially if you do a meet, it's a completely different game. If you're trying to cut weight and then get back into your suit afterwards, if you don't rehydrate good enough, the suit's not going to fit good enough, and then you're not going to get the weights that you want. If you overhydrate and you're too big for the suit, you're not going to be able to be mobile enough to get down into parallel or maybe touch your chest, and you can bomb out really easily. So, but anyway, it's just a different sport. So don't compare it to raw or classic raw or anything like that, because it's definitely not. All right, in the USPA, there's 3 different types of referees. There's a state referee, which is a red shirt, national referee, which is a blue shirt, and then an international referee, which is a gray shirt. So each one of these things has a different level of competency and a different level of skill and a different level of age in the sport, right? So in order to become a referee at all, you have to compete in at least 2 powerlifting meets. Does not have to be USPA, but just has to be 2 powerlifting meets that you can say, hey, here's my total from this meet, whatever. And then you have to take a couple of tests, or you also have to be recommended by your state chair, then the state chair usually reaches out to whoever they're lifting with and say, hey, do you know so-and-so? Do you think he'd make a good referee? So forth and so on. They send you the 200 question test. It's open book, so you get the test, the book, the rule book, and then you have 30 days to complete the referee test. Now, you have to get a 90% or above. Otherwise, they'll come back and ask you a bunch of different questions. They might give you the test over again. Once you've passed the test and you're good to go, they order you a shirt. Then you have to take a practical. So practical is you get to sit in a chair next to a higher than you level referee. Usually it's a national or international referee at that point. Maybe it's a meet director. And they take you through all the positions that they're going to be in. So they're going to have you do head chair. Well, they're going to have you sit next to them in head chair. And they're going to have you sit next to them in the side referee chairs. They might have you do cards. They might have you do expediting. And then they're just going to talk to you about, hey, what did you, I'm going to make this call. I made the call in this lift. Do you agree or not agree? And if you don't agree, then you chat about it for a second. They let you know why they saw this or whatever. And then that's basically it. So it's just them having you going through and them showing you exactly the ropes. Then your very next, referee meet, you're on your own. So a lot of the times in our meets in Oregon, if I see a guy or a lady that's fresh out of their practical and it's their first meet, I will sit next to them if they're doing like some kind of refereeing on the chair or whatever, and just make sure that they don't have any extra questions, because that's a lot of pressure to have on somebody that doesn't necessarily have that much experience. You've literally competed twice. You did a test. You did one practical where you didn't get to make any decisions on your own, and now you are the decision maker. So that can be a big roadblock for people that are starting to get into refereeing. And so myself as a meet director and a referee, I like to have all my guys do that. So they'll do their practical. The next one, I'll still sit with them, but I'll let them have all the control, and we just chat and they have questions and we can go back and forth on it. I might do that for a couple different meets depending on how comfortable the referee feels. At the end of the day, we're all human, and the reason why there's 3 referees is so just in case one of us makes a not the greatest call, or we miss something, which happens a lot because there's a lot of things to look at when you're refereeing. You get brain fatigue pretty quickly when you're sitting on the platform and you have each lifter. You got to make sure the bar weight's good. You have to make sure the rack height's good. You got to make sure that the name is correct and the weights are correct on the computer. There's tons of different gear stuff that they have to look at, movements, all that stuff. Did they go to the commands? So there's a bunch of stuff to look at. So as your first real meet where you are in control, it can be very, very overwhelming for new referees. So I like to do that with new referees. Doesn't mean that all of us do. I'd like to see the federation have that, maybe where you're kind of in probation period for like your next 3 meets where you're sitting with another guy or having somebody with you helping you bounce ideas off of. But that's something that, of course, I will bring up, and I have brought up to the executive committee with USPA, and I'm not sure where that lies, but I think that that's an overarching goal for the new executive committee, to have newer referees coming through. One thing that USPA has very much tried to attack and keep in line and keep to the highest standard is our referees. So if you have a referee that gives you a red light or a white light for something, it should be standardized throughout all of the other referees. Now, I get it. We're all individuals and we all miss stuff and we see stuff differently, but I think that in all the different federations I've been in and seen around, I really, really, truly feel they have a very high level of referee status, and that's kind of why I decided to stick with these guys. All right, so one of the questions I get is, what about all these different federations? They have worlds for this, they have worlds for that, they got, nationals for that, they got nationals for that. How do I know that where I'm at is actually like a good number? So, lucky for you, there's this thing called openpowerlifting.com, and you can go on there and you can put your name in if you've ever, lifted in an actual sanctioned federation and in a meet, and you can stack yourself up against other people that have lifted in all federations or just your federation or a multiple of just 2 different federations, and you can kind of see where you stack up. And so basically all federations are underneath this open powerlifting. That doesn't mean that all federations have the same standards, but they're all on there, right? So again, if you want to know how you stack up against worldwide lifters, that's how you do it. You can go to the USPA rule or record book or whatever online, USPA.net, and you can look up world records, national records, state records. that's just for USPA. That doesn't mean that the next federation, the guys are either, the people are way higher or way lower or right in the middle. That's kind of where Open Powerlifting is kind of taking it under their wing, and they're like, hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to, just give you a standardized area where you can look up anybody's lifts as long as they have been in some kind of actual sanctioned event. Pretty sure that kind of like sums it up. I'm sure 100% that there's things that I've missed in this. And I could make another one later on that has hopefully a little bit more information in it. But that's basically all I have right now. Things to consider when doing a powerlifting meet is travel, food, sleep, event location, and, just other aspects of it, like, hey, how did you go to this federation and you didn't like it, or you went to this federation and you didn't like it, or you really like something about this one. I've been to a lot of different federations, probably now 1, 2, 3, 4, I think like 6. I've been to Southern Powerlifting Federation, American Powerlifting Association, American Powerlifting Federation, WABDL, World Powerlifting Bench and Deadlift Association, or something like that, and then USPA. So five now. Oh, and then NorCal Powerlifting. I think that's pretty much it. They all have things that they offer people, and they all have things that they kind of lack, right? So that's why there's a multiple amount of different federations. People love these ones and people love these ones. There's nothing that I would say is like one is so much better than the other ones. They all have different things. So just consider all those different types of things. Like, we're going to IPL Worlds in England in October, and that's a 12-hour flight, right? So we're going to lose, and it's a day, it's 12 hours away. So we're actually going to lose a whole day. So if you're thinking about doing something like that, you have to make sure that you get to the area in enough time to acclimate for jet lag. You don't want to show up, weigh in, and the next day lift, and you're going to be completely smoked, right? You might not even sleep the night before. Again, food. Make sure you're eating the same amount of food, maybe even a little bit more, and the same types of food that you're doing at a powerlifting meet, right? So you don't want to be like, I eat chicken and rice and steak and potatoes 99.9% of the day, and now I'm going to eat a whole bunch of crap on the day, like stuff that's not going to make your belly feel very good. That's not going to make you super awesome on the platform, and you actually might have an accident, and that would not be good. Sleep, I get it. People get kind of, including myself, nervous before you go up to a powerlifting meet, but just try to get as much sleep as you can, and then just rest during the times in between your lifts and stuff like that. So yeah, those are just some things to consider. And other things you could talk about is like, hey, raw versus classic raw versus getting into a some kind of suit. Everybody has seasons of life. Like, I know one lifter that I've lifted with, or I've coached as well, he was very much a raw guy forever, and then he decided he was going to do a shirt competition, and we did really well. It's just a different game. So it's just a different season of life, and I would say, hey, give it a shot. Like, I squatted and I competed in classic raw for a while. I competed in full multiply as well. And now I compete raw because I think it's just easier and I have more fun doing it. So those are the things to kind of consider when you're doing it. But at the end of the day, it's all about having fun and just lifting weights. That's really all it is. But anyway, I hope you guys got some good information out of this. And I might come back and do another one that's a little bit more in depth about each federation. Like I said, it's hard for me to do that because I haven't done a ton of them. There is more than what I have said today. And I haven't lifted in a ton of them, so I can't really say too much about them, other than the USPA, because I've been in that one for almost 6 years now. So that's the one that I go with, and that's the one that we're continuing to go with. So anyway, hope you guys have a great time, and I really appreciate you guys being here again, and go out there and smash some weights on the platform, all right? Until then, see you next time. Thanks for joining us on this epic journey of strength. If you liked this episode, please leave us a review and share with a friend. To stay connected, hit that subscribe button. All right, until next time, go heavy or go home.